Hey, this is Wilkinson here at my studio in southwest London, and I'm about to show you how to make some music. Okay, so I'm going to start off by sort of making a musical piece. It's kind of the basis of the way I always start a song. I tend to find that if I start with the drums or anything other than that, it tends to restrict things a little bit too much. So yeah, I've got this little bit of kit, which is a Prophet 6. It's very nice sounding analog bit of kit, and it's quite cool to start with because it's got a lot of tones to it. There's a lot you can do. So I've basically started with this kind of ARP kind of idea. It's pretty simple. It was basically these kind of sort of some little ideas that I've recorded on the MIDI, and I'll play that. It's basically this sound. But the cut-off's down, so it kind of sounds quite nice. Kind of got a little development there with some of the bottom notes, building it up. But what I've done is I've looped over. I looped over the first sort of 4 bars for the intro, because that's what I usually do. It just sort of, when you're DJing, it's quite nice to have 16 bars to sort of get your track in there before, like when you're mixing out of one track into the next, it's quite nice to do that. So I usually like loop over some sort of idea, so whatever's in the kind of breakdown, loop over something, put some hi-hats over the top. So I kind of loop this over. It's quite a nice loop. The nice thing is that, because I've got this rigged in via the MIDI, I can send the MIDI out of the computer back into that and then back into the computer, so I can play around sort of with the cut-offs and the decays and things like that, and then when I record it out, I can do all this sort of live and it will record it in, which is kind of what I've done. I've basically done that here, did it earlier. Which is, move this. So yeah, I recorded it out of the Prophet into a new audio track, which I created here. And I've just added a little bit of reverb to sort of give it a bit of, put it in a space. I quite like the harmonics that kind of drift with reverb over to other notes, and it just sort of gives it a nice atmosphere, and you can kind of hear other melodies sort of jumping out of it. That gives me ideas on other sort of parts to put in later on. So this is the recorded part out of the Prophet through the reverb, and I've also like opened up the filter and I've opened up the decay. I'll show you actually on here as I'm playing. So just kind of added loads of, just kind of added a load of like noise and stuff like that to it as well, which kind of builds it up, makes it sound quite intense. So this is what I've recorded just a little bit earlier. develops into the second 16 idea now. I've opened up the mix on the reverb as well. So that's the kind of 32 bar build idea that I had. And then kind of like when I write songs from a sort of songwriting perspective, I like having an idea like that, and then I like to develop it into something else in what you would kind of call the pre. So I would call that the verse, and then I'd have like a pre, and then the chorus would be a drop. So the pre is like the build-up for me as well. So I'm going to this is going to kind of be like a 48 bar sort of intro and breakdown, and then the drop's going to be on bar 49. It's kind of like how I like to work. It may like get longer depending on how the track's going and if I develop any more ideas, but that's what I'm going to aim for. So what I've done here, it's kind of a random idea, but I looped this. This is quite a nice open sound, and I've looped it up, just pretty much like that. Just sounds really nice. And then what I've done is I've copied that, and I was just playing around with pitching it over on. You can pitch the region in Logic, so like whatever you want, you can pitch it. So I just went down a fifth there, and then I think I went up a ninth, so it would be up a seventh, and just played around with it. And this is what I came up with earlier. This. It's quite cool. It's like, I don't know, kind of a loopy, rough idea that I can hear a lot of, I can imagine like a lot of different notes underneath that. And I've also like filtered it a little bit on that part, so it kind of comes out of the build up here. So I like using the Fab Filter stuff, pretty much use it as my EQ and my filters. I just feel like the filter sound is really clean. You don't get a lot of, like with the Logic EQs, I've always found that you get real peaks when scooping stuff out, and some strange sort of unwanted peaks, but this is like a really clean one. So, and it's simple and easy to automate, so I've used that. And then I guess it's just trying to work out where I go, like melody-wise from this. So I guess I can just jam out and give that a go now. So yeah, I'm going to kind of come up with I guess like a bass idea to go underneath this. It may not be that, it may just be I'll just create another random sound. But I want to do it with the Prophet because I want it to be in the same sort of range, like as a palette of sounds. It's like quite fizzy. It's quite, there's a lot of unison, and yeah, it's just a good sort of. It will merge together really nicely, and I'll give it a go. I mean, I'm just going to jump through some presets because I think there's 1,000 presets, so I'm just going to find one that I feel like sits with it, and then I'm going to maybe develop it a little bit. But I'll play it through because that's a good way to test whether it's going to sit with it or not. Yeah, so that's actually one that I made earlier. That's not a joke. That is I was playing around earlier and I feel like it's fizzy. Yeah, it's nice. So I'm going to leave this one a little bit more open so that I can probably distort it a little bit on. This has got a nice distortion, and I think it's got it's not got a lot. Yeah, I just added a load of sub because everyone loves a bit of sub. It will just add a load of impact when it comes in. I don't know what notes I'm going to play yet, but it's just about seeing what fits in with that loop, really. There's a wrong loop. I should probably work out what I'm actually going to... Kind of weird, but it works. I might have to move it about a little. Yeah, kind of like the first two notes, quite like. Didn't really like the second half of it, so I'm just going to play around with it on here because it's quicker to do that. I do like I mean, this is like a nice layer. I don't think it's the bass sound, but it's like adding another layer to it. It's cool. So what I'll probably do. going to make like just have a little bit more movement in the notes to sort of bring out some more ideas. Yeah, it's cool. It sounds kind of weird. I quite like weird. I always do this. There might be a quicker way to do it, but I find that I'm telling quite a lot of people about this trick quite a lot. But I just always use these function MIDI transform tools because you can just quickly turn everything to like full velocity, and then trim it as well, so then it's all nice and clean. There's no like weird sort of overlaps. Quite a good little, fast little trick, and it just means that you haven't got weird. Sometimes when you have notes that like overlap, especially with that, it will just like, and if you've got portamento, it just can kind of like mess it up a little bit. So I like to keep everything as clean as possible, performance-wise. So yeah, I guess I need to listen to that, see whether it works. I don't really know what it's doing. It's kind of adding another layer. I'm thinking now that I might need to build it for a bit longer. So yeah, I could hear there that I think that should be like, start off real quiet and like filter up, because I don't want it to take away from this kind of looped chord. It's quite nice when that that's a nice moment when that happens. And I'll probably filter it up gradually over 8 bars. So yeah, I'm just going to record out of the Prophet into Logic, which is basically recording this channel into here, and then I can do some effects on it. Yeah, so that's that. I usually just bin off the MIDI because I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm pretty bad at it, but I just delete stuff after I've done it, and you can't really go back to it. Actually, I should probably save this, obviously save stuff, because that is the worst thing when you lose it. But yeah, I find that like I just commit to stuff, and then there's no going back, so you've always got to work with that idea. Otherwise, I used to get like real writer's block when I was working on things, because I would just be like, oh, I'm not sure about that idea now. And the good thing about using the outboard stuff is that you have to record it in and you have to commit to it, so you have to make it work. And sometimes that involves just like even just chopping a little bit out and resampling it, or just putting some effects on it. So it's quite a cool way of working. It does mean though, when you're mixing it down, which is one thing that I find quite hard, is that I tend to like, if I've added a load of reverb, and then when I come to like the final mix, I'll be like, oh, I wish I didn't add that much reverb and stuff like that. So that is the bad side to doing it, but it's good. So you can get there in the end, but you kind of have to work with it. So I'm just gonna delete all this MIDI now, because pretty much I'm done with those ideas. I'm going to put a filter over this. one. I'm going to roll out a little bit at the bottom end as well, because it's not like the full drop, and on the drop I want all the impacts of the bass and everything like that, so I'd usually just roll a bit out of the bottom end there, and then start filtering it up. Probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I added a bit of noise when I was recording it because I thought I was being clever, but it just sounds really rubbish, so I'm just going to cut the first part of that, which is the same, so it's all good. And then yeah, I don't know, I'd probably like add like maybe a guitar now, because I like the sound of guitars, and it kind of, I feel like there's an idea in there, but it's not as dramatic as it needs to be, so I can play like one notes on the guitar, so I'm just going to get the guitar. So this is an Ibanez. I don't know a lot about guitars, but I have a friend who knows a lot about guitars, and he said get this, it's a good all-round guitar, and it's just, I've just put it straight in. I've got the Focusrite Claret 8, and that goes straight in, and then basically it's just going into Guitar Rig, and the Guitar Rig's cool because it's, you've got like, it just sounds pretty sick, and then you've got like, one thing that's cool as well with Guitar Rig is you've got like, some of the effects are like, you can make almost, it's almost not even like a guitar sound sometimes. Yeah, there's like weird stuff. Let's find some weird stuff. Yeah, some of it's really weird, but I've basically like made like a sound that's basically like ripping off the XX, because I like the XX, so. And it's nice, and it's just like, to be honest, this is loads of reverb and a thing called the gratifier, which kind of just adds, it's like a bit of distortion. It's quite a nice sound, but like if you, even if you put more reverb on it, I just find that it can add a layer that is just, like, adds a lot. If it's in tune, I'll probably just distort it. Yeah, so my guitar playing is terrible, but I'm just going to add like a couple of notes and then probably just like resample them. So it adds a nice layer, and then you can just build on that. Like, and that will be enough guitar. But I'm just going to auto-tune the guitar because it sounds weird. but I'm just going to try it. So I'm going to like put some auto-tune on it because I just like trying random stuff like that. And just going to take out some of the notes. So this is like Camel Crusher, and I've like used it since day one. I don't think it's even meant to be working on this computer, but somehow I've got it working again. And it's just like a real simple distortion. They had something called Camel Fat, which I don't think they do anymore. But this is really cool. It's just like a mechanical and tube distortion. It's got a filter on it. It's just real simple, but I find it really nice, like real nice sound. Especially like with a reverb and this like distorting reverbs. It's just like it gives you all like stereo filled, like just loads of crispiness, and especially in the sort of build up, it just fills it out a lot. And yeah, I don't know, it adds to this. Just when it starts playing. So I'll probably just chop up these notes a little bit and just start moving them about within the loop. Maybe this one here. Just loop it in the same way that I've looped the Prophet above. Make sure that those notes are all on in time, which they're not. It's another thing to like look out for when you're recording things is just like the start point of the notes. Otherwise, you'll start when you add drums in, it'll start clanging and it won't sound tight. It's more importantly when you're making drum and bass. And just remake that loop. Nice last note. Yeah, and there's like also like loads and loads of horrible frequencies in that, like with any guitar. So I usually just go through and like immediately that one's pretty brutal. Let's take those two down a little. Just gonna like roll off the bottom end because that would just be a lot of the noise from it going through the sound card and through the guitar rig, which we just don't need in there because there's just so much sort of sound coming from these two tracks. But yeah, it's just that adds another layer. It's not doing that much, but it's just building it all up. You know, I like people to not really know what's going on when you're listening to it, just to hear other little sounds in the mix. So yeah. So yeah, I've got a kind of what I would call well, like a basic sort of vibe, because you know you can kind of, it's quite nice. Not really sure, it's kind of a little bit too nice. It's not epic enough yet, but I'm not going to make a dirty kind of drum and bass shit. I'm going to make something that's quite uplifting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group these three tracks. I'm going to call them Prophet 6-1, Prophet 6-2, and then the guitar. And then I'm just going to send it to a bus. Just Prophet, guitar. Yeah, I'm just going to do some like put it in this bus, and I'm just going to do some processing to it, and I'm going to put like this thing called LFO tool on, which it modulates the volume of anything that you send into it. So it's got different patterns. It's really cool. It's made by the guys that make Serum, and it's just you'll hear it basically. So you can draw LFOs in really, so it's quite cool. Like, and yeah, it's just start getting a groove in there for when I start putting the drums in. Just going to take down that ringing frequency in the guitar as well. I'm also just going to like pan the guitar, just because I feel like it, because it will just add a bit more sort of stereo interest. So I like to use Sound Toys Pan Man. It's pretty simple. You can either have it a sort of free rate, or you can have it in time with the like the tempo, which is what I usually do. Quite like this one. Slow it down a little bit. It's like a little bit too much at the moment. It's kind of like, it's a little bit too wide. When you use that and LFO tool together, it like adds a nice sort of pulse to the sound. I'm just going to EQ everything together because to sort of give it its own sound. There's a real horrible frequency. coming from that guitar, but I'm just going to EQ out of everything. Yeah, so I've done a little bit. I'm just going to listen to this all again so that I can sort of gauge where I'm at with it and start thinking about another melody to put in. 'Cause it's very different from the intro, so I want it to make sense. Yeah, so I'm going to just loop that around again. So this is going to be like a massive sort of 64 bar intro kind of thing. And then I'm just going to try some stuff over the top, try filtering it out, see if I can get another idea in there that links in with the beginning. So I'm just going to get Serum out because it's got like a real clean sound. I really like the kind of bleeps in it, which is my preset that I always start with. But the problem is that that is playing that for some reason, so I've got to get rid of that. So just like basic shapes, and then probably like triangle wave, and then this is just envelope that links to the filter. And I usually take these off. Keep it nice and simple to start with. Probably use a square wave. I like using square waves for bleeps. Yeah, and then I'll probably just add a little bit of reverb for now. Turn down the pre-delay. Just a little bit bright, so I was turning the brightness down. Add a little bit of resonance. So that's my link. I think that may. Because it's kind of like it sits over the like more minor kind of feeling at the beginning. It's a lot more moody, and when it sits over that, it kind of sounds quite moody. When it sits over the sort of end pre-bit, it sounds completely different, but it's still the same melody. So that's something that I could carry on into the drop, and almost have the drop just drums, bass, and that, and maybe the bass can replicate that. So I'm just going to try and record that in if I can remember what I just did. So I'll record it over the next 16 because it's like got more music in it. So I think I'm going to use the second half. Just quantize it and then do make it full velocity. Oh. Weird. And trim it. It's got like a little bit too much bottom end coming through because of the attack and release on the envelope. So I'm just going to filter that out it's got like a inbuilt filter effects rack on it with a high pass filter. So yeah, I've just, it's all sounding a bit out of tune, which is, I think it's just because I switched that on this morning, and there is a tool you can like basically retune the LFOs, and I retune the oscillators, which I didn't do. So it's quite funny. I mean, it is what it is. It's quite cool. So I'll just leave it and deal with it. Yeah, so I've just put this in. I tend to keep the sounds quite basic at first. Sometimes I just tend to keep the sounds quite basic. I like my music to be quite hooky, and it's quite heavy in that way. And I think that I guess that can be good and bad. I mean, like having obvious melodies, but I like to kind of develop on this part of it. So like this has led to that because I've just heard that melody while I've been making that. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just going to see if this works throughout the whole. I'll probably bring it in here. This is the second 16. Yeah, so it's cool. I think it shouldn't change so much. Gets a bit hectic with it takes away from everything else that happens there. So I'm just going to see how that sounds, kind of. So I'm just playing around with the sound now so that it cuts through, because obviously, like, I don't just want everything to get louder and louder and louder. I want it to cut through. There's different ways you can do that. Well, I'm just adding a little bit more. So it opens up a little bit more, so you can hear a little bit more of the top end on the cutoff on the envelope. This is this compressor. It's like got a multi-band setting that it actually ends up expanding when you put it on. If you put it on after the reverb, it expands it, and that's a cool technique to get loads of energy out of the sound. But I'm just going to use it. See, it like gives it a real, it brings out the top end and pumps it quite a lot. Don't want to do it too much. I'll probably use a different reverb as well, because that's just annoying me. It's got like some pre-delay on it. So yeah, I've just taken that reverb off because it didn't sound right. So this Valhalla vintage reverb, I'm really into these. They've got there's a lot of different stuff you can do with them. Quite simple though in the layout. Got a little EQ on there as well, which is nice. So yeah, I'm just going to use that. So yeah, again, like before the drop, you want to create some suspense. So I'm going to just loop over that chord, like that. And I'll leave that guitar that's like really subtly in the background. I'm just going to leave that in, so it just sounds quite nice. I'm just going to tidy that up because I don't know why I did that. Need to loop that one. There you go. Ooh. And so yeah, and then I'm just gonna there'll be a build up in there. I'm gonna add some percussion. Obviously, I would like to spend a lot more time developing these sounds. Probably put some sort of build up will go through there, and then I'll kind of drop it here. I'd filter up everything, even I'd filter up this guitar, so it doesn't get in the way of any bass that I put in. So filter it up over the last sort of 8 bars into there. Yeah, this is quite a boring sound still, so I might just mess about with it a little bit. Might just send frequency modulate. Can give it a little bit of movement because it's yeah, it's quite percussive, so that's going to cut through. Might just use decapitator is quite nice for just adding a tiny little bit of distortion to the sound, flatten it a little bit. Always adds a little bit of bottom end, so I'm just going to roll some bottom end out of that sound. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to add, there's this plugin called, that creates risers by Air Music. It's kind of like a go-to, just to like, usually I'll just like throw something like this in just to get a vibe and then kind of go in on the sound a little bit more. As you go down the keyboard, it just slows down the time it takes to rise. I want something quite simple. And I don't want much release either. So yeah, I'll just throw that in. I could either do it there, but I'm going to do it there because it's yeah, it's pretty rowdy sound and pretty intense. Just going to tidy that up. I'm just going to bounce that bounce in place because my computer's about to explode. So I don't know why. I can't be bothered to buy a new laptop yet. So I have to load all the plugins in, and it's sort of just overheating there, which is what it does every day, which is fine. But it just means that I have to like freeze tracks, I have to bounce tracks, and it's probably like a reason why I have to commit to things, just because for some reason you buy an Apple Mac and it just starts going crazy like that. Anyway, I've bounced that sound. I'll probably take a little bit of the bottom end and the top end out because it got a little bit crazy. So yeah, I'm just gonna like layer this sound because it just sounds a bit weak. I'm just gonna use a Prophet again. I'm gonna probably go through some of the presets and find something that suits the similar sounds to that, just to layer it so it's just got a little bit more texture. But I can just copy the MIDI down already. So yeah, I'm just going to go through, see what happens. Quite a nice little layer. Yeah, I'm just going to add that in. Probably just take out the reverb on that because I won't be able to control it when I bounce it in. Right. So, just going to record that a little bit so it doesn't take ages. This adds like a nice, it adds a nice layer that kind of binds it into the rest of the music that's in there. Yeah, so that's that. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot is that because of like audio latency and MIDI latency, it's all bounced, it's all like recorded slightly out for some reason, don't know why, but I should probably just sort that out now. And it will have done it for everything else that I've just remembered. This is a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to tighten that up. So I've just recorded that. I've just tightened up the audio so that it's all in time, and I'm just going to add some stuff to this because it does sound pretty. It's cool because it's got the same. It's the same sort of palette of sounds as the other stuff, so it's going to fit in quite nicely. I'm just going to put it through the Waves CLA 76 because it's just. Quite a nice compressor. I always like make sure with this kind of analog modelled like software plugins that I just always turn the analog setting off because I just find that if you put it on, it just adds noise, which I make enough noise, so I don't need any more noise in there. So yeah, I'll just turn those settings off. Actually, I'm going to use, change my mind. I'm going to use this API compressor. Again, like, turn the analog setting off. So it's nice for like picking out the, pulling out the top end of the sound and just tightening it all up, because I just like everything to be really like punchy, especially in these kind of sounds. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm just going to roll off. Oh, I'm going to roll off a little bit of the bottom end. I haven't done much EQing yet. I mean, that's something that I usually leave. I leave it a little bit first because I never know what kind of. The drop determines everything for me. It's like kind of dependent on the drums. If the drums are really like, if the drums are quite like punchy and like there's 200 hertz snares and there's a lot going on, I tend to like kind of scoop a little bit more out of the mix to give that room. With drums that sort of sit on the top, like you kind of like really high pitched snares, more of like rim shot snare, I leave a little bit more in, just because it's, when it drops, it would be missing that otherwise. So I'm just going to build this through. I'll probably, it's really loud. So yeah, that just builds up. Yeah, I mean that riser is a bit like, I wouldn't use that, to be honest. Like I'll probably take that out on a later date because it's just a little bit corny. It's like too many frequencies going up. I'm just going to add, I usually use a TR8 because it's just, it's basically the 808 drum machine, and you can, on here you can play with all the decays on the separate sort of like hi-hat snares and kicks and stuff like that. You can change all the pitches in that, but I'm just going to use the EXS24 to get like a 808 sound real tight, just to set the tempo, just to give everything a little bit of rhythm and movement. So get it out, it's down here. I kind of always do it. So I'll just record it in here. Terrible playing, but quantize it and draw it in anyway. Whatever that is. So this is like a sampler, it's like the Logic sampler, so I'm just going to transpose it, or tune it a little bit. I'll try and like start fitting things into the key of the song as well, like. That's probably like pretty similar. Yeah, so that's going to start probably where that riser is. I'm just going to check on the multimeter, so Logic's inbuilt analyzer. Kind of like the top end of the bleeps to cut through as well. So yeah, I'm gonna do the whole like here's what I did earlier, because I don't have enough time to like go through like the making of drums, because I just want to concentrate on more of the musical side of things. But here's some drums I made earlier. I'm just gonna put them in on the drop. I just pulled them in from another track I'm working on, but they might be. More of like they might be a little bit harsh for this, but just going to kind of work out what I'm going to do on the drop, because what I want to do is drop back into that idea at some point, and that's got like a nice movement to it. At the moment it's all very much like up and down on sort of like 4/4. So I'm just going to get a sub out of. Sometimes I use massive for subs. I've been using Serum just straight up, because you can. It's got like 3 oscillators. It's got a sub oscillator, and it's got A and B oscillator. So you can add like more harmonics to your sub. I'm going to turn off this stuff. I just want it full. Also, I turn it off random, because that just it means every note that you play, it just plays a random sort of variation of that oscillator. Quite like that sort of distorted sine wave. Just make sure it's not too loud. So just adding a few more harmonics to the sound, and then I'm just going to filter all of these. I'm just going to make sure there's no, it's just a straight up. It's all like very sort of too straight. There's not enough movement, so I'm just going to try using the LFO tool now. Yeah, so I've put this LFO on, and it basically is over the entire bus with all the music, and I've also put an EQ on the. I've also put a reverb on after it, so it sort of gets a bit of a tail and it doesn't seem so dramatic. But it sounds like this. It's got a lot of movement in there, which sort of, when you add the drums in, adds quite a lot. I'm going to take a little bit more out of the. So what I'm going to do here is I kind of like that loop, but I want to take some other of the chords and incorporate them into the drop. In fact, I might try that whole section. I'm just going to cut little bits out and try and make a loop. So it's about building a sort of a loop that kind of works with the bass. It doesn't sound right when you loop it up like that, but when you add in the bass, it kind of you can create another moment. I'll just play around with those notes. Especially if you get, I use the LFO tool and get some sort of like wobble on the bass. So I've just put the bass in, and I've got a little bit of movement in the bass with the LFO tool again, and I'm just going to like play around with the melody, that top line that I put in a while ago, because it's just pulling back from the pace of the song a little bit. So I've just moved a couple of the notes, so it kind of goes from sounding like very on the beat like this is a bit kind of getting a bit boring now, so I've moved a few notes so it skips along. So basically just shifted that. That's kind of yeah, it kind of works. Quite like that. I've now got to move the audio on the Prophet track because I bounced it. So that will sound like this. Yeah, basically, I think that rolls a little bit better now. Yeah, I need to add like another shaker. I need to add some like more shuffle in the drums because they're quite stompy. But yeah, I'm just gonna have a listen, see what that melody sounds like over the build-up over here. Sounds all right. I'm just going to automate this bus so that LFO tool just sort of like comes in a bit later because it's kind of nice to introduce it later on. Wherever it is, I just got to find the mix. LFO depth 80. So that will sort of build it up over this. Yeah, it's kind of like working. There's definitely like a lack of pace, so like it needs like more percussion in the build-up. Just going to add like this sort of delay. yeah, kind of works. Just gonna try something and send. Don't usually do. Sometimes I do this with break beats where I send them to a bus and I'll put like a filter on them so it's just the top end. So as you can hear there, it's just the top end. I usually just do it as my break beats and like the splashy kind of cymbals and things, and then I'll send like the sub to that bus. And then I'll send some like bleeps. It's just some other music to it, and it kind of like. But then I'll put a distortion before that, and then it kind of just crunches it all together. So it's sort of like makes it sound quite fat. Throwing that guitar in, see if it adds anything, and I might just speed this up. A bit of movement. Yeah, it sounds quite rowdy that. I mean, I'm gonna like sometimes I just try and throw a few things onto a bus and just try things. So I'm gonna add a reverb so everything going into that bus is now. So I got reverb on it, and then it's been distorted. Might add something as like a subtle like atmosphere. Like I try and like give the illusion of distortion where I can, so that it sounds louder to like the listener. Hey, this is Wilkinson, and that's all we got time for, but thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.